代表取締役社長兼グループ CEO
First, we have
健様よりご講演いただきます。
Mr. Ken Kutaragi, President and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment. His topic is entitled PS3 Creating the Next Generation of Computer Entertainment. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ken Kutaragi, Sony Computer Entertainment. To begin this presentation, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, the Computer Entertainment Suppliers Association, as well as to Nikkei BP. I would like to thank them. I'd like to thank them for giving me this opportunity to present this keynote speech. We are on the eve of the launch of PlayStation 3 as well as the Wii, the next generation computer entertainment systems, and they will open the doors to the new generation of computer entertainment, and therefore the global eyes are on these launches. Myself included, all the stakeholders in the industry are very happy that we have such a large attendance here, and this TGS is the venue for the launch of PlayStation 3, because we have brought 200 consoles as well as development tools to let you actually enjoy the PlayStation 3. We are working on this with soft maker suppliers because we have the largest title lineup ever, which are playable actually in this venue, and all the users, the representative of the industry, and from distribution and media and analysts, I'd like to ask you and invite you to actually feel the PlayStation 3 and have a glimpse of the new world that will be created in computer entertainment in the next generation. But let me spend the next 5 minutes introducing to you the PlayStation 3 video, which we are showing at our booth.
いかがでしょうか。
Pat,
皆様多分十分にお楽しみいただきたい。
I know that you've enjoyed them more than fully.
12年前、PlayStation
12 years ago,
PlayStation
when the first PlayStation was introduced, yes, the pictures were clean. Virtua Fighter, Gundam, and
12年間どれほど多くの
Final Fantasy. Remember those games
原
then?
料界が
And now think of what you just saw. And a lot of contents, enormous amount of contents have been created in this entertainment world, and you're enjoying them.
この12年間
Enormous progress has been made. I said that 12 years have passed. 1983, the 8-bit family computers were first introduced in this world, and in the 20 years since then,
プロセッサーの中に入っているのはコンピューターです。
processors
プロセッサーのクロック数は
have improved by 4 orders of
計算能
magnitude.
力は
The computing power have improved by 5 orders of magnitude, and the memory capacity has increased by 6
素晴ら
digits.
しいソフトウェアがどんどんどんどん
And thanks to all those developments, that has stimulated development all the softwares.
素晴らしいソフトウェアが
You just saw the glimpse
本当に2ヶ月
of some of the latest softwares, and they will be in your hands. As users, you'll be able to enjoy them in just a few more months. And that's a great achievement for those of us in computer industry, particularly as someone who has Sony Computer Entertainment. I am very pleased and very happy that this progress has been achieved. And one of the differentiating factors of the game tools is the fact that they are real time and they provide real response. And this is the difference the game can offer compared to all other systems, including personal computers. And to realize this, the user interface controller have improved in a most remarkable way, because you need a precise and fast input operations when controllers are used for game entertainment. And it is still undergoing an enormous progress and advances, because they require intuitive and versatile inputting operations, and the kind of interface which had hitherto not been even dreamed of are now about to be realized, and some of them will be the well-established de facto standards in the days ahead. The real-time response against the operations on the controller is required, but that will also need fast calculations and computation, and all those resources will be devoted to the realization of the future game equipment in the days ahead. We have the state-of-the-art microprocessors and the semiconductor devices. All of these are being introduced in the latest game platforms, for example, bus bandwidth, pipeline, or parallel computing processing. These techniques and technologies have been used in the world of computers, but now they are available in the game creators, and game engineers can now take advantage of these state-of-the-art technologies. That's why we are where we are in computer entertainment industry, and this progress is going to make the industry even bigger. The power of the industry is very imminent upon us. And all with these developments, computers or computer entertainment, our industry comprises 2 elements, computer and entertainment, but it's now one. The combination of the computer entertainment has reached a combination point in a way, because previously in computers we are looking at the mainframe computers. We've drawn the functions of the mainframe computers closer to us. PC was a typical example, but PCs today have reached a point of perfection, more or less. But in so doing, they've used bigger and bigger operation systems. And compared to when we were young, the convenience offered by the PCs, the comfort offered by the PC is very high, but because of the enormous and giant OS and a lot of functions being incorporated in the PCs, it has lost some of its elements in terms of real-time responses. But the games are different. The game is an actual game, therefore real-time, real response characteristics are the key. And therefore, now with the computer industry and the game industry coming together, I believe there's now a breakthrough which is almost upon us. What I mean by these breakthrough, for one is, whereas previously we had computers in our hand and we monopolized the use of the computers to have it do the computing work for us, but we are changing the process of thinking 180 degrees so that the databases and the computing powers are now left on the other side of the network, but through and via network, everyone hooked to the network will have access to those capabilities. And this is actually a network computer idea which is proposed by Oracle 10 years ago. But at that time, a decade ago, the network connection was too slow, and the computers themselves were performance-wise lacking, and therefore this idea did not come about at the time. But today, network, thanks to the development of the internet, has made a global reach, at least for a certain bandwidth, and computers themselves, as I said, if you look at the PCs, there's been enormous progress so that the power is in your hands, which had been unthinkable just a few years ago. In terms of computing powers, they are more than adequate for our purpose, and across the network on the other side, there's a large storage and enormous servers, which everyone can access. Therefore, in your hands, the individual units of PC may be small and very cumbersome to have a good maintenance and to be secure against the virus. But the computers on the server can be maintained in a uniform way, unilateral way, and therefore it is there that the market is moving from being on this side of the network to the other side of the market. The transition, the transformation is taking place. All the accumulation of the computing power accumulated on the network and the enormous database and the search engine, which can draw whatever information you're looking for in an instant, allow you to experience a virtual access to the supercomputer, as if you were owning a piece of supercomputer yourself. On the client side, therefore, it's light and easy, speedy. You don't need the fastest speed processors in your own computers, and even mobile phones can be used to enjoy almost the same level of comfort, to have an access to all the powers that exist on the other side of the network. And for us in the computer entertainment industry, one very interesting piece of application is the map database, I would say, because using the latest services, you can get the pictures taken by the satellites and all the existing map data, plus the dimensions of the buildings and the heights and all the proportions of the buildings, and you can use the joystick to fly through the landscape created using that database. But the current resolution will allow only you to see the individual pictures in rough shape, and it will have seasonal differences, or all the cars on the road are stationary and not moving, so it's not really for the real-time entertainment. So for us in this particular industry, the problem with the current available database is that time is frozen. Time is suspended, but still there's an enormous opportunity and possibilities, I think, in this world, because all the road, the land, and the boundaries between the pieces of property, all those pieces of data are available at the Legal Affairs Bureau of all the government authorities. And all the buildings were actually physically built up. Therefore, if you look at the building permit, the building registration data, you have all the pieces of information available, and that can be linked on the network. If all the data can be collected on data, then the possibilities are enormous. Again, it's going to be beyond whatever you're imagining is possible. What I'm talking about is, as you saw, the Ridge Racer, the screen that you saw earlier, the landscape required for that. Today, the game soft producers have to do that work actually on their foot almost. If it's a real world, then you have to take the photos, the pictures. In the case of fantasy game environment, people have to think that up in their head. But with these databases available, you can go through the network to incorporate all the available information in your game environment in a very realistic way. When I say this, you may think that's a long way off. That's not possible today. But as I said, the math software is available. All the computation is done on the other side of the network by the servers. It's done. And thin client, the very light, small handheld terminals can be used to change the perspectives. That's exactly the game experience. And if in the production of the game software we can introduce such a technology, the opportunities will be enormous. Today, the game production is very costly. It requires a lot of investment. For example, the time required to gather data, the cost is enormous. But even in that, particularly if you're talking about the real environment, having to run the car, drive the car, or walk through the field, if the data is available, you can use that for your purpose. Again, the opportunity is enormous. Even beyond that, with PlayStation 3, the next generation platforms will have within themselves powerful engines and hard disk storage capabilities there as well. And then there's a control to allow you to operate them real time, which means that users themselves, using these platforms, will upload your personal environment, your map database. Say that's the process of creating a GMS, global map system. If a global map system is open to everyone, then the certain protocol, users will be invited to upload their data. If PlayStation offers such a proposal, and what happens is that the users will start with all the pieces of information in their living room or their favorite restaurant, their school, their office rooms. Of course, you have to think about the corporate secrecy, but all that information can be uploaded by the users themselves. Digital camera is available today, digital handycam, and the pictures there can be uploaded digitally to the network system immediately, real time. If this happens, then it's a grassroots initiative. GMS will become a global mapping system, and this is not simply a pipe dream or pie in the sky. This is almost available, and when that's realized, by accessing that and using the game platform, you can enjoy the comfort of real time. You can fly through all the scenery or the landscape real time. That's been our dream. Doko demo door, doors everywhere. Today, the documentations and written materials, they can be searched using the search engines available today. But in the future, when the computer powers become much larger, if there's a super agent available, which will be able to satisfy the preference of the specific user as 120%, then creation of personalized travels or personalized shopping would not be a mere dream. That's indeed to be in the realm of possibilities. For those who are looking forward to those services, that will be a great achievement. But those who are thinking about providing those personalized services, that will be an enormous opportunity. That's very exciting. The entertainment contents this industry will not be bound by this entertainment contents, but there will be a possibility that this particular industry will be providing a much broader range of economic activities, allowing all those economic activities to prosper. Of course, this will not be achievable if it was worked on by ourselves. That we will need the initiative and support of all of you. The global map system, the example I gave you, is very much a realistic proposition. There could be participation by people from all the other industries. But for us in the entertainment industry, the creation of the fantasy world is also another very important element. Nanja Town, Disneyland, or the virtual world you see in the films, all that can be created. The creation of fantasy is where there's high hopes as far as we in the entertainment industry is concerned. Those of us who produce games, all of this will bring us an enormous economic opportunity. Economic benefit will be huge because of the participation from all the other industries, but also as we try to produce games, we no longer will have to gather data on foot, collecting information about landscape, for instance. And to the extent that resources will be released, we'll be able to use the money and time and all the resources for other purposes, for development. And we can concentrate on the creative or artistic side of the game creation. So if you take a large perspective looking at the game producing process, there's artistic side to it, but also we need expert programmers and skilled experts on network technologies, and they can be part of this global network, which means that resources don't have to be within your firm or your own outfit company, but as long as you are connected to the network, you can find that creativity, the power of creativity to produce excellent games. And that will be available through this network, and that is indeed the mission of the game industry. All these technologies, therefore, will be available for you to use, and you have to use them. And that will bring us the world of comfort, the world of convenience. Now, Gran Turismo, one of the games that we have, take this example. Gran Turismo, as you very well know, goes to Grand Canyon, Nuremberg race courses, and you have to film on location all those actual venues. The still pictures on the top right, you see the camera mounted on the car, and the actual shots have to be taken. The cars have to be put into data as well. The laser triangulation survey, land surveys done actually to get all the needed tape data for the landscape, and the roadside billboards also have to be produced now. And the GT cars on the course, running on the course, they are actual GT cars in terms of the bodies, the rigidity, the rollover rigidity, the engine structure, the suspension, the tire traction, the center of gravity. All those physical data has to be obtained from the car manufacturers. In other words, the entertainment industry maintains a close relationship with the auto industry to obtain data. Technical data is received, or sometimes data has to be collected from the CAD system. That's transformed, translated into data structure used in PlayStations, actually. This is why, and combined with the physical simulation, we have the reality presented by PlayStation consoles, as if you are driving through the actual racing course. the live experience is enabled by this. But if you have the database, you don't have to put in all the data from scratch about the vehicle that you're driving, using the CAD data, for instance. But thanks to the fact that we are able to use the CAD data offered to us by the car manufacturers, we are saving a lot of time instead of doing
all
that ourselves. And by seeing the overlap between the world of the game and the real world, sometimes the totally unimaginable business opportunities are upon us. With the case of Gran Turismo, our development team has been involved in the designing of the parts and components or information systems of the actual commercial vehicles. Or in the Tokyo Motor Show, they have the Gran Turismo cockpits, which are the trial run simulators. This kind of cross-boundary alliance, joint business opportunities, business challenges, if I may call them, will be available. The global map system is just one example which will allow such confluence of the industry activities. But this is not limited to just PlayStation 3. And of course, PlayStation 3 is what we are trying to launch, but the platform connected to network, and I believe there has to be an open environment, open system, but as long as that the network connection is open, it will be like an internet. Through internet, people have a joy, and people can have a first-hand experience because internet is actually usable. The network world of the game has to be exactly like that, usable to everyone. The open network environment and also the development environment has to be open to the network as well. And we're going to accelerate that effort at Sony Computer Entertainment to make sure that network environment and the platform is open. Because it's only when the system is open that we have an innovation and drastic ideas that are brought in. The prevalence of internet is a wonderful example, I think. Today, I don't have to even talk about internet because it's used in the world of medicine, the banking, the shopping, the security, the B2B transactions between companies. It's everywhere and is used by the government, the central as well as regional administrations, the government using the internet administration system as well. Internet, only 10 years ago, was problematic because of the speed of the connection or the last one mile problem. But actually, all this began with the first server. It was created over 30 years ago, and the mutual connection of all the servers. The internet is nothing if it's not a collection of the enormous number of servers having all the different architectures, the computers made by different companies, but the connection between them connected through the shared IP protocol, it allowed us to use them in a unified way. The net, the logical computer system, was now within our reach.
Now, under those circumstances, recently we are able to use a digital still camera or the digital handycam movie camera, and with a wide penetration of those equipment, the rich contents like photos and the moving pictures can be easily uploaded by the users to the internet directly, and we have come into that era, as you know. And under those circumstances, there is the border between communication and broadcasting, but the border has been lowered. And so what is a fundamental change? And for instance, when I talked about the relation between communication and broadcasting, and if the use of the purpose is the countermeasures against the remote areas or disruption of the radio wave. But the fundamental change is the upload of massive contents from the users, and the new technology be able to search and classify the contents. And new technology has emerged, and we are able to enjoy that technology very much. And recently, the Web 2.0 and the possibility has emerged, and the lot of power that has been shown to us, and potentially I believe that that potential is already with us. And the user have come to the time of package, or the so far the music and films, the videos that has been provided in the form of the package, and the distribution, the method of package alone do not give the full potentiality. And for instance, the long tail, the content or services which do not expand to the mass and tend to be buried in a package era. And now the users come to be aware of the excitement of those contents and services, and users themselves wish to transmit those the content. And 12 years ago, when we launched the first generation PlayStation, we decided to use the CD-ROM. And as distribution media, the CD-ROM was introduced, and we aimed at the same impact by using CD-ROM. In those days, distribution method was using mass-ROM, and in those days, that featured high manufacturing cost and the long production lead time. And when there was the inventory, the heavy inventory, the cost and burden, and so a lot of problems for the mass-ROM. And so in those days, new mass distribution media called CD-ROM was introduced to computer entertainment industry, and by so doing, the very cheap as media and very quick repeat production. And because of the cheap cost, the various new advantages, it can be shared by the creators and media producers and users. And so that really met the requirement. And so as a result of introduction of CD-ROM, the gaming industry, which had been declined, was again revitalized, and new bold experiments, diversity of softwares were created, and very new and unique computer entertainment softwares were created one after the other. Over the last 12 years, about 15,000 other titles have been released for PS and PS2, and the recently what is referred as long tail business, a very large number of the titles, and they have been provided to users. I think that trend has been created over the last 12 years. But recently, we have seen the new phenomena of bipolarization, division between what it sells and what it does not sell. And so the users have become more cautious to accept the new game titles. I think that represents the current situation of the gaming world. And now when we consider the contents, and the original purpose of the contents production is to seek the diversity and the expression of the creativity. And so in light of that, the current game industry tend to rely too heavily on the easy-to-sell sequels, the part 2, or just easy play. And I think we should give some warning signal to such a situation in the industry as the people who have been living in this industry. So challenge spirit from the production side, because of the business reasons, have been retreated to a certain extent. And on the part of users, that they were more aggressive before, but they have become less aggressive. They just wait for what you will give me the next, and have become totally passive to just receive the games from the producers. And so, including myself, everybody of SCE, the base of our the thought is just innovation. So without any innovation, we believe that there is no sustainable development in our view. And so the computer entertainment industry, we have identified many problems within our industry. So as I said earlier, the creativity should be the basis of a computer entertainment industry, and that needs to be reviewed once again, and we should cope with the individual problem seriously, and need to deal with the new network-ready the period from now on. And now much has been discussed on network in my presentation today, but unfortunately, if you look at the current network components, for instance, the server clusters and the lines and the infrastructure, in real time, the quality and the comfortable the quality of the game or gaming equipment has not been materialized yet by network. And for instance, if you read today's newspaper, the voice that is a low bandwidth and the VoIP, that is voice over IP, has collapsed, and that was reported by the newspaper this morning. And the cause has not been found out, and that caused a lot of trouble and inconvenience to the corporate activities, and that is still the reality we have to bear with. And the server, which consists the network, and they have just taken over the traditional PC architecture, and even using the fastest speed, the gigabit Ethernet. The current the servers have not reached the internal bus speed of the first generation PlayStation 12 years ago, and it does not have a sufficient power to carry out the computation equivalent to the level of PlayStation 2. And so the HD quality, the video, and handling that on real time, I think it still takes time to realize this. But perhaps after 10 years, we'll have a time that this is fully materialized. And therefore, the gaming, the equipment which is included in PlayStation 3 may be called overkill. In other words, has enormous computation power, and the last ED-ROM, the distribution media, becomes necessary. And so, but the gaming equipment, anybody who purchases it can be connected to the TV, and always on network environment has spread now, and PlayStation 3. And I think the best opportunity to connect the PlayStation to the network has finally come true. And this year, or over the next 2 to 3 years, of course, the network must live together with packaged media to play the complementary role with each other. Because for large capacity contents distribution, we have to use packaged media for the time being, but the network environment used for other kind of media, so new situation will arrive. And so we look at the reality of network, and we'd like to start with what we can do. And basically, the interactive nature of network should be used to the full extent. In a traditional system, because of the large organization or because of the traditional the baggage and others, the talents and creators are not able to exert their the power and the capability to the best extent. And so we'd like to use their creativity in the media and using network, and the very easy communication should be realized through the PlayStation 3 using gaming equipment. In order to enable this, for instance, in the case of PlayStation 3, not only always-on connection of the internet, browser, and the hard disk, the standard the equipment, and the communication, which is the fully protected by security function, and they are all embedded in the PlayStation 3. And not only playing the game, and for instance, the computer, like text data or the photo data, which is exchanged on PC, and using the same system, the HDMI, the new interface is used to integrate the TV and computer display, text data, and game playing sitting on the sofa, and I think that can be done simultaneously. And through this, not only users, but the creators too can exchange the information over the network, and for instance, the request for the creation of the new exciting game, or if the one produces the game is able to share the game with others over the network. And over the last 10 years, or 12 years actually, together with you, using PlayStation and PlayStation 2, we have built up the large game library. And as I said, PS1, PS2 combined, the thousands of titles are already made available to us. And PS3 has emulation function to emulate them. And so over the network, and starting from those with smaller volume data, user able to download them to play the game together. And the year 2000, when we announced the PlayStation 2, I talked about that possibility. And finally, in 2006, that has become reality. And for the PS3, the emulation environment for PS1, PS2 can be used, and that is transmitted from the server, and that's what we tried to materialize over PlayStation 3. And that cannot be done without the cooperation from software manufacturing. So with your support and to the users, paper play and allow the users to choose the game of their preference. And there are many good hardwares produced by the computer entertainment industry, and we do have good machines and good software. And Mega Drive titles or PC Engine titles, through the emulator that we're able to download over the network. And with your permission and authorization, we would like to expand the world further for the PlayStation 3. And the contents which can be distributed over the network are not only the contents, for instance, the movies and the movies which are shot by individuals. And just living in a living room, you are able to enjoy and also upload the content. And using the mobile equipment or the PC are possible to exchange information. And another the point we'd like to do is a new game. The platform is introduced to the market, and what we wish to do then is we have the pilot equipment on the store at the front. And for instance, we have 15,000 units in the United States, or including Japan, very large amount of the PlayStation 3 will be installed on the shop front. And for instance, of course, that needs to be consulted with the retailers, and by connecting the equipment to the network, and not only enjoying the game through the downloading, and for instance, just like a street corner TV can be used for promotion at the media, and also by using mobile phones and IC card, and it is possible the small amount billing or charging is possible, and therefore arcade the type, the play will become possible. And if you visit the store, and if you're interested in just paying the money for 100 yen or 300 yen for card, you can just enjoy it. And I think that possibility does exist. And so now we have been presenting that possibility to retailers. And so beyond the network, we'd like to have the programs. In other words, enormous amount of cells should be placed in the form of server beyond the network, and in order to have access to them. And so that is enormous experiment performed. And that is not only conceived by the entertainment industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the real-time computation is needed like a medical area. or the chemical area, scientific area, that point has been paid a keen attention to. And the other day, the IBM in the United States announced the plan to supply the Los Alamos National Lab of Roadrunner, which is the fastest supercomputer with the 16,000 cells. And I think you still remember this announcement by IBM in the United States. And at SCE, we joined the one project. And this project is all about the folding.com, which is the joint project. And there are many PCs throughout the world, and using the part of the computation power of the CP in the world, and by combining a large number of CPs, and we try to elucidate the genes of intractable diseases like Alzheimer's diseases. And so DNA of the intractable diseases should be discovered as quickly as possible. In order to do so, we should combine everybody's power and efforts. And that is the nature of this project. And we have a great appreciation of this, the purpose of this type of project. And in the PS3, we put on the folding.com, and we had experiment. Experiment has continued, and that is the 1 digit higher the processing speed of PC can be achieved by PlayStation 3. And after the launch date of PlayStation 3, with endorsement of the users, just a part of the PlayStation 3 could start from the 100,000 units or million units, and through the interconnecting with each other, the computation power we have never dreamed may be realized. And very big science or the medical area can be tremendously benefited from that computing power. Of course, playing game is the great fun, but we are able to make the great contribution to the society and community if we are able to use it for those medical and other purposes. And gaming equipment is very often seen as simply the gaming equipment, but with the progress of network, the interesting use and the important use of gaming equipment becomes possible. And when we look at the development production, the scene for PlayStation 3, the programmers are able to jointly access to the network. And gaming programmer try the gaming engine and share that with us. And the artists join and as parts, and so jointly they produce a game. And so the common server is installed in the game companies, individual game companies, and the PS3 has the cell. And I talked about the folding.home, the project, and in our development environment, those infrastructure becomes possible, and the users able to directly contact that production scene. And for instance, over the network, not by the paper, you're able to see the progress of a new game production, and the users can upload the contents. And for instance, the industry may get new idea from the users through the upload of their contents. And live entertainment, which could not be materialized in the package, the world, will become realized. So every day, the new idea may come in. So that era is no longer the dream. That has become reality. We will very soon see the start of that era. For instance, for the movies, you looked at the Jack-in, and be able to watch the new world. And that world has already come very close to us in a gaming industry or a gaming world. The part of that has already become reality. So I think we are very lucky to live in such a great scientific era. And so in that sense, the gaming industry and computer entertainment industry try to open the door for the future. And over the last 10 years, we have shown you the great progress of game industry. Perhaps what will happen over the next 10 years would be much more interesting, much more stimulating and dynamic compared to the past 10 years. And therefore, what I can declare now is in computer entertainment industry, we will take initiative to lead this new trend. And the PlayStation 3 and the new generation platform. And lastly, I would like to show you the video which give you the sign of that possibility and conclude my keynote speech. I thank you very much once again for your attention, and I would like to show you the video.
Kutaragi様、ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Mr.
この
Kutaragi.
後はトークセッションとなります。